And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, and with me today is not the trusty co-host Eric McCartney. With me today is Atomic Denny. How you doing today, buddy?
You're even more trusted co-host, Atomic Denny.
That is correct. I believe Ayrton may be calling in a little bit later, just in time for me to fire him. I haven't been able to do that in a couple episodes. So.
Boo! Boo!
Anyway, let me get a screen share going here. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people what we might be talking about tonight? What we've got? And I've got it pulled up on screen, so I think they might already know. But
yeah, so tonight I think that Church wanted to talk a little bit about The Walking Dead. He read all of them in like a day because he's a madman. And then we're going to be talking about the second volume of Umbrella Academy, Dallas, which is going to be interesting. I did a little bit of brushing up before the show. I didn't know we were going to be doing this tonight, so I'm a little bit behind on that. So we're going to have to see how Church is able to guide me through and jog my memory. I remember most of it. Before the show started, him and I were just discussing the ending. It's a lot of moving pieces in the Umbrella Academy, so it gets tricky trying to remember what everybody's doing and what all the plot points are.
It does, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize for the late start. I was asked to guest on Q's stream over on Out of the Darkness, so hopefully some of you might have caught that. We had a pretty good conversation talking about Ariel now being an African American character and whether or not the outrage that the media claimed to be taking place is fabricated.
So, what's your take on that?
I think it is. Quick. I think that it is a fabricated outrage. I think that people, somebody on Twitter, and I didn't get the chance to bring this up on Out of the Darkness, but somebody on Twitter actually posted that you see a lot of people claiming that people are getting outraged, but you can't really find a whole lot of examples of people getting upset about it. And I think that's twofold of a reason. I think one, because we've already accepted that redheads and African American people are completely interchangeable in
media.
Yeah. And secondly,
that's what I was going to say.
Secondly, I think that these live action remakes that they're doing are not going to carry any kind of water in comparison to the animated versions of these movies. I think
those are.
Go ahead.
Yeah, those are exactly the 2 points that I was going to make. Was they keep replacing redheads with African Americans, and I mean it's not like I have anything against Ariel being black, but in my mind, Ariel's always going to be the animated redheaded Ariel. Mary Jane is always going to be the redheaded
girl next door.
Yeah, like it's not like I don't know, these newer adaptations, I just don't think, like, especially The Lion King comes to mind. I don't care at all about those real-looking lions and that real-looking warthog. The animation lent so much to The Lion King that, like, yeah, these live-action adaptations are not going to be as fondly remembered. They're not going to have the legacy that the Walt Disney animated classics did. It's just not the same thing. And they better cast a ginger in the action Princess and the Frog movie.
Yeah, just to equal it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get rid of one, you got to put one back. Gingers are a minority too. Gingers are an extreme minority.
Less than 1% of the overall population.
And they're shrinking. They're getting fewer.
But yeah, that was that was the holdup. I do apologize for the late start. I pushed the start time back twice and still couldn't get here on time. Therefore, I will go ahead and
Is that
accept
is that is
that.
that your mic that's rough, or is that my earphones?
Uh, I'm not sure. Hold on. Therefore, I will go ahead and
Is that
accept.
is that
I think that might be your headphones.
um?
I'm
All
coming through.
right.
I'm coming through okay on the chat. There's nobody in the act or on the stream as far as I can hear. Um,
You sound a little staticky, and it like just happened.
right. I'm coming through okay on the chat. There's nobody in the act or on the stream as far as I can hear. Okay. Yeah, I'm coming through okay on the video. I
Oh,
might even be a little quiet.
okay.
But
Maybe it is my headphones. That's fine. That's fine. I was just checking. I didn't want you going through the whole stream. Anyway, back to
the
business.
curse of the audio issues plague us further.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put the stream back. This is officially our first late gay and muted stream. So glad you could be a part of this, Denny. But
Yep. I do what I can.
anyway,
Who'd have thought Arton would have been a part of the first late gay muted stream?
I mean, it happens like that sometimes, man. Sometimes you can't predict the future.
Yeah, but I mean, like Arton seems like a magnet towards things not working right.
No, he always robots. That's his gimmick. He has to robot every show and then get fired.
Maybe Arton really is a robot.
I think he might be.
He can't quite mimic human behavior the right way. So that's why it always seems like
he may be a lizard.
I'm not picking on Arton.
We don't know.
I like Arton a lot. Arton, if you're listening to this, I love you.
But anyway,
anyway,
a brief recap. Gerard Way, Gabriel Ba, Umbrella Academy Dallas, second volume of Umbrella Academy. This is the story of the Kennedy assassination and how the Umbrella Academy and Number 5 specifically are responsible for the prevention of the Kennedy assassination and the actual assassination taking place.
Yeah, it's sort of like the team is split. The more moral members of the crew are like, no, you can't. All the like it's kind of like the end of Watchmen. Like Rorschach is like the one that wants to be like, no, this is wrong. We got to tell the people, no. And everybody else is like, yeah, but this is actually kind of the way it has to be. Like, it's not good, but it's like it's what we have to do. Like, that's the way the Umbrella Academy is split. Space Boy is like, no, this is wrong. But everybody else sees it a bit more objectively. Like, this is the way the timeline is supposed to be.
Well, I think that one thing that a lot of people maybe not necessarily take for granted, but in these kinds of stories, the necessary evil. I mean, you referenced Watchmen. The necessary evil of these situations has I don't know, kind of a gripping point in storytelling. Like The Walking Dead that I mentioned, there's a lot of necessary evil that goes down within the show and the books. When Carl is almost sexually assaulted and Rick rips that guy's throat out in the show.
When did that?
The bikers
did that happen?
The bikers that were in the house.
Oh, okay.
That happened almost exactly the same in the books, and the same thing happened. But kind of a necessary evil. You kill to save your family. It's still evil under some people's ideology to kill, but self-defense is always never really frowned upon. But we'll get there when we get there. We got a couple of issues to go through before we get through that necessary evil.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about The Walking Dead, by the way? I know you said you wanted to share your thoughts on it a little bit.
Well, I did that mostly for the show yesterday. I just didn't know if there was anything you might have
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to discuss. I brought up
No, not really.
I brought
I read the first volume and I liked it, but I never continued beyond that. The book wise, show wise, I watched until Rick and the governor had their stupid little meeting in their stupid little shack, and I got really bored, so I just stopped watching. So that's where I am on The Walking Dead. I'm not against it. I'm open to reading more of it.
I think that now that it's complete, that everyone should read it cover to cover. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, I would like to read. To me the books seem much more legitimate than the show.
Yeah, yeah, and there's never a dull moment. So, but I've got pulled up on screen the opening act of Umbrella Academy Dallas. The Monocle, which is the adoptive father of the super team here, the five. You wanna kind of give us a rundown on who the five are again? The leader, number one, obviously.
Yeah, so number one, aka Space Boy, is like a natural leader, and he's got like superhuman strength, or really his talents. And he was like the Monocle's favorite. He was the only one that the Monocle was ever really nice to.
Right.
And then number two is the Kraken, who has mastery of thrown objects,
Hmm.
but mostly just knives. They don't really use that for anything else.
He's
And
like
he
a
can hold his breath
vigilante.
indefinitely.
He's like a vigilante
Yeah,
Batman
he's
style
he's
character.
yeah, he's sort of in the shadow of Space Boy. He's deeply jealous of Space Boy, though he would never admit it. And he was the Monocle's second favorite, so that's got to count for something. But the Monocle didn't seem to have much use for him. Number three, and the one that I think is the most useful, is the Rumor. She can bend reality by saying, "I heard a rumor that," and then whatever follows that statement, it will happen. Reality will change to make that rumor true. Which is a really, like, to me that seems more important than super strength. But what do
Now,
I know?
now let me interrupt you real quick. Now that we're halfway through them, just to speak on this opening act here. We've got a robot Abe Lincoln attacking the children in Washington, and
Yeah,
they make some commentary on how this is almost a repeat of being attacked by another statue, which was pretty funny. But the rumor, and I'm not going to show this on screen just because conservation of pages. I don't want to do too many pages and catch a copyright strike. But the rumor basically, in the clutches of the Abe Lincoln statue, steals the day by saying, "I heard a rumor that you got assassinated." And out of nowhere suddenly appears a John Wilkes Booth statue to assassinate the Abe Lincoln
yeah,
statue.
a giant robot. John Wilkes Booth shows up to kill the giant robot Lincoln.
Right. Or the statue even. They're
Yeah,
not even robots. They're lifelike statues.
yeah. So there doesn't seem to be like a limit to Rumor's reality bending. It's she
Right.
can even make clones of herself with her Rumor, which is discussed in one of the standalone issues.
Right.
But anyway, moving on is number four. Who is number four?
Number four, tentacles. The
Oh,
dead one.
no,
Oh no,
no,
that's number
that was
six.
number six. Number four is the Seance, who can talk to the dead and float
Yeah,
and
levitate.
levitate. He's got like telekinesis, I think, mild telekinesis, but he can only do any of this when his shoes are off.
Which actually,
Um,
we'll talk about this when we get to it in the story. But I have a question about that.
yeah.
Well, it doesn't make sense that he can only do it with his shoes off because once he was dead and he was communicating through the television, his shoes were still on.
Well, maybe like once he was dead, though, he was free from his earthly body, so
Yeah, he,
like
he
it
wasn't
didn't.
confined or whatever. I mean, that I
Yeah,
guess
his earthly limitations didn't
if
matter.
if that's the crux that I hang on this particular story,
He
then
meets God,
yeah,
who is a cowboy.
that's fantastic. He lives in a black and white society, and God comments that the seance is so pale it looks like he belongs.
Yeah, yeah. Everything in heaven and where God lives is like it's like a pencil sketch of an old west town. Like it's all black and white, and the seance is unnaturally pale. So it's like, yeah, he fits right in there.
Yeah.
And that's the seance. He's actually really powerful too. He kind of saves the day a couple of times. Really, he's very underrated.
Right. Well,
Um,
he saves the day and doesn't because well before they're attacked by statues, the uh, the adoptive father, the monocle, saves the tells the president that they will intervene in Vietnam if it becomes an issue. And
yeah,
in exchange for that service, the monocle is gifted with some nuclear weapons. So those nuclear
yeah,
weapons are later the plot device of two time traveling assassins that are after number five.
yeah.
Maybe we should dig into a little
Yeah.
little bit more of the story before we get too
Well, I was
far
going
off
to say,
track.
do you want me to explain real quick who Five is? He's the
Right,
last
right.
essential part.
Well, yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Seance and then number five. We
So,
should talk about
so
number six as
Seance was
well.
yeah. So Seance was number 4. So number 5 would be the boy who he can leap forward in time, but he can't leap backwards in time, and he can replace objects like in space time as he leaps. But anyway, he ran away 2 days. Was it 2 days or 5 days or something before the Umbrella Academy's first real mission? And leaped forward into the apocalypse and spent the next 60 years trying to figure out a way backward in time. And he eventually figured it out, but in doing so, he became acquainted with an organization called the Temps Alternalis, which are like these time assassins that make sure that timelines stay the way that they're supposed to be. And one of the major problems in the timeline is that John F. Kennedy survived his assassination, and he really shouldn't have. So they want number 5 to kill John F. Kennedy and
Well,
and set the timeline right.
Speak
But he
speak for yourself
decides.
and Gerard Way. I think that Kennedy should
Well, I'm just
have
saying that
lived.
the Temps Alternalis see it as the timeline needs Kennedy to be dead. That's the way the timeline should be, according to the Temps Alternalis. But 5, not really because he cares about Kennedy or anything. He just decides at that moment, you know what? I'm just gonna go back in time, and I'm strong enough now that I can defeat the Temps Alternalis if they come for me. So he just goes back in time, but he makes a mistake and is put into his 10-year-old body again and rejoins the Umbrella Academy at the beginning of Apocalypse Suite. And
now,
that's
now,
number 5. It's
well,
hard to give a summary on number 5 without
I,
giving like his whole spiel.
I did want to kind of comment on something else that breaks my suspension of disbelief in the story. Um, Part of the backstory with the time traveling organization. I'm not going to attempt to say it with my accent, but the the temps Auroralis or whatever you call it,
Alternalis.
Alternalis. There you go. The temps Alternalis. They well they do some enhancements biologically and organically to hold on one second. I'm trying to do something in the background here. To enhance
Well,
number
they
five.
do enhancements to all their agents, really.
Right, but why would those enhancements stick around if he was in his 10-year-old body?
I just think it's one of those things. I think it's just one of those wacky.
Because comics.
writing quirks. Yeah, because of comics, because the plot said so. But yeah, they altered his DNA, and gave him the DNA of like the world's best killers and everything. So he's like this time traveling super assassin, 70-year-old man, 60-year-old man in the body of a 10-year-old boy, and he's really cool. I guess he's a really cool character.
He's the
just keep him away from Kevin Spacey.
Oh, who's that?
Oh,
Who's that in the chat here?
What's up, fellas?
Where? Oh my God, this is the best your audio has ever been. Where are you at right now?
I'm in a hostel in Puno, Peru.
Oh, so
what you doing in Peru?
Confirmed Peru has better internet than Michigan. Blown the fuck out.
Yeah, you're right there.
Oh man, we're just talking about Umbrella Academy Volume 2, man. How you been?
Oh, it's been good. It's been a long trip, but it's been fun. I figured I'd pop on for a minute, say what's up.
Did you find any?
Peru?
Did you find any South American comic books?
Actually,
Man?
we just got to this town this evening, and when we were walking around, I saw a newsstand that had some comic books, but they were closed down.
Fuck yeah!
So I'm gonna grab some possibly tomorrow or the day after. So.
Are they just like Portuguese versions of like Marvel comics? Like, is it just like Marvel comics written in, I don't know, what language do they speak there? Peruvian?
Spanish.
Is it Spanish?
Yeah.
Well, I know like in Brazil they speak Portuguese. So
yeah. No, I don't know what they are. They look kind of strange, but kind of fun. So I'm gonna grab a couple.
Are they like? Do they have their own comic publishers down there? Like, is it like some weird brand you've never heard of?
Yeah, it was something I'd never seen before, and the art was weird, and I don't know. It looks kind of fun though.
I want them. You better buy them.
I was gonna say, intriguing. It's intriguing.
I'll buy a couple and I'll send them down to you, Church.
There you go. I'm tweeting out that you're on, by the way. You two go ahead and catch up.
I don't know. What do we got to catch up on, Arton?
I don't know. You were talking about number 5 when I got in?
When was the last time I fired you, Arton?
Well, yeah, you got to fire him real quick, and then I'll get to explaining who number 6 is.
It's been a few days. You're fired. You fired. Right. You fired.
Yeah. You gonna make me host the show? Me have to be the co-host? This is your job, Arton.
Hey, I needed a break from all this abuse.
I'm quite comfortable so far. I'm suffering no abuse
yet.
Church and I had a theory that you're a robot,
or a lizard person.
Or a lizard person, and you can't quite replicate human behavior. So that's why like you get picked on so much.
I mean, it's possible.
So you don't even know if you're a robot
I really
or a lizard person. You're so well programmed.
We'll see. I can't even track like my family lineage back farther than like 1870. So
that's when the lizard people invaded.
Well, no, that's when the lizard people were driven underground
by the robot people.
By the robot people that now control Britain.
So,
how do you think the Queen is so old? She's a robot.
Did you read the second volume of Umbrella Academy, Arden? Are you coming in with any frame of reference?
I mean, I read it a while ago, but I mean, I can try and remember stuff.
Oh no, you're good.
That's pretty much where I'm at. I just
wanted to make sure you weren't
before
just completely out of it.
No, because this is all the crazy time traveling stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But real briefly, Church, you wanted me to explain who number 6 was, right?
Yeah.
Number 6 is the horror, aka Ben. He had extra dimensional Lovecraftian Cthulhu monsters inside of his skin, and he died. It's very vaguely explained how he died. We just know that he's dead, and people kind of blame Spaceboy for it.
Right.
And well, I don't know. Does the Seance really talk to him in the comic book?
I can't
remember.
I think at one point they all like meet with him individually in the first volume to show that they still care about him or whatever. I could be wrong, but I do remember his gravestone being a big deal. I've changed the scene on the.
So he could like.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so he could like tear open his chest, and all these giant tentacles would come forward and crush everybody. Was basically what his power was. So I can only assume
he was popular with the weebs.
And
he
was the weeb
real
ladies.
big on the hentai scene.
The weeb ladies loved him. But before we keep going too far into the story, I don't know if you
Kurt Eichenwald loved him.
That's right. Until he started flashing. But Arden, I don't know if you've been keeping up, but yesterday's episode, I read all 193 issues of The Walking Dead for it in 2 days.
Oh, that's what you messaged me about? Shit, dude.
Yeah.
Which is insane. That's absolutely insane.
No, last night I was partying it up with a bunch of Latin American women dancing for like 4 hours and drinking. So no, I did not catch what happened on the show yesterday.
Get an X-ray.
Take that, Church. He's better than you. You don't need your nerd books.
Hey, it's okay. I still got both my kidneys.
He's dancing with women.
He doesn't know if he still has both of his kidneys or not.
That's very true.
But
how cold?
I think I at least
when you woke up.
Huh?
How cold was your bed when you woke up? Did it feel like there might have been ice packs there just minutes ago?
I mean, they have like these alpaca fleece blankets, so it's always really warm in the bed. So I don't know. And I did just pee a couple hours ago. So I have at least one kidney left.
Okay, it sounds good to me. I wasn't. I'm down with dancing with the women.
I am too. Just keep your kidneys safe, man. I've heard white kidneys pull a premium in South America.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But
you only need one.
But I wanted to.
How's the food?
That too.
Arden, how's the food?
Oh, it's amazing.
Are there street food
what
vendors?
Is it?
Come on, man! Give us the experience. Yeah. This is our trip to Peru.
Name me a Peruvian dish.
Hey, David, how do you say that pepper thing we got? Ricotta Reggiano. It's like a stuffed pepper.
Okay.
That's really, really good. Had some alpaca meat.
What's that taste like?
Like
it tastes
lamb.
Kind of similar to. No, it tastes closer to like wild bison.
Okay.
I was gonna say it's probably kind of like buffalo or something, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. What brings you to Peru, by the way?
Vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, just cause.
Yeah, just backpacking around for 10 days.
He ran out of hiking trails in Michigan.
Basically.
Was it something that you like? Do you have a planned like backpacking route, or did you just fly to Peru with supplies and I'm just gonna go around?
Hey, Denny, white privilege brought him to Peru. I'm not impoverished enough in my own country.
It's either white privilege or a sex vacation. You can say either.
It's probably a little bit of both. No, actually, a buddy of mine was studying Spanish in Argentina for school, so we just met here when his semester was over, and just been kind of hopping around.
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
But
yeah, I was gonna. So. I had a joke and then I lost it, and now I just kind of sound dumb. So I'm hoping somebody picks up the slack.
Oh well, the reason I brought up The Walking Dead is while I had you on and while it was still fresh in my head, was there anything you you wanted to know about the series now that it's over? Because that's the reason that I read it all, was because 193 was the final issue.
Oh shit. Is it better than the TV show?
God, yes. 1,000. I think the TV show is garbage.
I was going to say, I would hope so.
One thing that I can't say, let me tell you how gracefully they ended it. It ended on issue 193, but there were 4 more issues solicited before this book hit the stands. So they solicited fake covers.
Oh, jeez.
They solicited fake covers for the rest of the series just to keep people from figuring out this was the final issue.
Oh, wow.
Nice. I didn't know they did that. That's interesting.
Also, 70 pages of comic book and 8 pages of a farewell letter from Robert Kirkman. Almost 80 pages of book. $3.99, same price as every other comic The Walking Dead's ever put out.
Jeez, look at all those tabs.
What tabs?
What?
Your download tabs at the bottom of your browser.
Oh yeah.
Am I the only one that's not screen shared right now?
I screen shared with you.
I can't see what's happening.
There you go.
I was gonna say I just have the icon. We're doing this. We're doing it live. There we go.
We're doing it live.
I cleared my downloads though, so you can't see my degenerate church pornography.
Is that church's pornography or church pornography, like porn in
Don't
churches?
worry about it.
I'm gonna leave that up. I'm gonna leave that up to whoever's imagination.
Well, I'm gonna assume the worst.
Good. So, no, there's nothing you guys were.
So anyway,
I think that both of you would enjoy the show or the books over the show. I think that the actual Walking Dead as a story, it really wrapped up well, and that's more than I can say for like Game of Thrones or any kind of TV series for the most part. It had a concise beginning.
Game of Thrones really upsets me.
Well, it had a concise beginning and a concise ending.
I love the books. Real quick, if I could make an aside,
absolutely.
I love the Game of Thrones books. The show, after they ran out of material from the books, like after Jon, spoilers, everybody. After Jon died, they ran out of shit to do. It was just the writers of the show coming up with things, and it was awful. And it's very apparent,
I think
the show ended badly. I'm just gonna say it did. There was fun action, but it ended like garbage.
It was cinematically beautiful and narratively trash. I think is a fair assessment.
It was very narratively trash. They ruined. I'm an avid fan of the books. They ruined so many things, so many little things. Dorne became just like a big fucking shit show. Nobody knew what was going on with Dorne or who Dorne is, or I don't know. Have either of you read the books?
I've read both.
No.
I've read all 5 of them twice, and I've read the prehistory
I was going to say
and
so. Arden,
the auxiliary stuff.
So, Arton, you having no knowledge of the books, what do you know about Dorne? What is Dorne?
I
He
I
didn't watch
got
the show
4
either, did
episodes into the first season and got bored.
You didn't even watch the show. Okay, I was going to say if you
Yeah,
watched the show,
I saw
I was
I
going to
saw like the
say
first 4 episodes, and
But
then I
if
got
you're
bored and
if
stopped
you're
watching
going
it.
if you're going off just the show, Dorne is naked women and deserts.
yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's it. It's they like Dorne is supposed to be like the Spanish conquistador. Like it's very inspired by like Latin American culture and stuff like that, and not just Latin America, like Spanish culture, like real Spain, and
Yeah.
it's like a melding of all of that, and it's just like completely ruining the show for just men that like snakes and naked women, the hot naked women that use spears, and that's it. That's as deep as it gets in the show, and then they all die horribly.
Yeah,
And
the best thing out of Dorne
that
was
was
Oberyn Martell.
yeah, and they.
Now,
Like
they
and
crushed his
Durin
head in.
Martell, his brother.
Oh, is Durin the one that
Durin
no,
Martell, his brother.
is Durin or
Durin
Oberyn
was the one
that
in the
fights?
wheelchair.
Yeah, Oberyn was the one. Yeah, he was the
Oh,
best.
yeah, yeah. Well, I like Durin because he's a Star Trek actor. He's one of my favorite Star Trek actors. but they wasted his character in the show. In the books, like Durin is like he's really smart. He's out planning everybody. He's out planning all the hot women with spears and his crazy brother and the Lannisters and everybody. He's doing it all from this wheelchair with extreme gout, eating blood oranges on his balcony. He's like the Godfather.
Right.
And in the show, he just his bodyguard gets killed, and then he gets stabbed in the heart because he's an idiot. Because everybody on the show is an idiot.
But
that's why I hate the show.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the show's garbage.
I just thought it was boring.
The material. But that's Mrs. Church will say the same thing about
much like The Walking Dead is.
Well, Mrs. Church will say the same thing about Ready Player One.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. But I think the book is also garbage. So
really, you didn't like the book? What?
Yeah.
So you didn't like any of the material from that particular.
No, but I think the book has more artistic merit than the movie does. I'll give it that. I think the book is at least its own original artistic piece. The movie's just cinematic, studio pumped out, mass produced garbage. Like it's just blockbuster filth. The book is at least a man's vision. I just don't happen to think it's a very good one.
So. One thing.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting way off track.
You're good. One thing that I wanted to touch on just out of The Walking Dead was you have a concise beginning, a concise ending. He does justice to the series, but halfway through the comic series, you have like a 5-year jump. And then on the very last issue, you have a 30-year jump. Do either one of you care about knowing like what the ending was?
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm fine with being spoiled.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, full on alerts. If you haven't seen last night's episode and you don't want to know, I'd go away for about 5 minutes. But basically,
spoilers, everybody, spoilers.
Basically, Carl is an adult 30 years into the future. He ends up married to Sophia, and they have a daughter who he named after Andrea, his mother, because in the comic books it wasn't Rick and Michonne that had a romantic relationship; it was Rick and Andrea. So
I hated Andrea in the show.
Well, in the comic book, she's much more bearable. She's also the best sharpshooter they have.
I would hope.
But you have all that, but Carl is grown up. Maggie's baby is grown up. Maggie's baby with Glenn. and Maggie's baby with Lynn is like a spoiled ass little brat named Herschel, and he captures zombies and uses them as a sideshow attraction. So Carl goes and kills his entire little sideshow circus, and then they go before Judge Hawthorne, which is Michonne. She's a judge in the Commonwealth, and she lets Carl off with a slap on the wrist. And you see Eugene. He lived out his days. That fucker. Maggie becomes the president of all of civilization, so that's interesting. Rick dies, so it's a pretty good wrap up. It's a good ending. I appreciate the ending. The very last panel is Carl on a rocking chair reading to his daughter the exploits and tales of Rick Grimes, the great hero of civilization.
I was gonna say, is Rick Grimes like he's not an unknown part of history though? Like,
oh no, I
what
believe
civilization exists remembers Rick Grimes.
What civilization exists worships Rick Grimes and builds statues to his honor, literally. There's a statue in Alexandria of Rick Grimes. So,
can I just say too, real quick, mentioning the show?
Yeah.
Everybody likes Shane. Everybody was like, "Yeah, Shane's cool. I like Shane. He's badass." Shane was a douche and a prick, and I hated Shane the entire fucking time. And I was glad when he died.
In the comic books, that's pretty much synonymous. You feel
I
that?
hate Shane.
I felt the same way
him.
about Shane in the comic books, so don't feel bad there. But yeah, honestly, if you want a good post-apocalyptic story about human nature and how people behave in times of crisis and how situations can change at a moment's notice and what people are really truly like, read The Walking Dead. I said it on the show where I was on with Sweetcast, and we were talking about 3 creator-owned books. But The Walking Dead is a passion project to comic books. It is over 13 to 16 years. I think it might be 16 years that book went on. It was like 2003, wasn't it, that it first came out?
I believe so, and nobody expected it to be a hit. It was underprinted. It was expected to be like
It was a Teenage Mutant Ninja
Turtles. Zombie book.
It was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I imagine, like, I wish I would have had the foresight to pick up a Walking Dead #1. I remember when they were out.
They were like $3,000 now.
Yeah,
good condition.
My local comic book store, after Walking Dead took off, I'm not going to name his name or anything, but not that anybody would know him, but I just don't know if he wants his name mentioned, but he hobnobs with like Alex Ross, and he was a big friend of Michael Turner, and like, so he knows some people in the industry, and he got Robert Kirkman to like lend him an autographed issue of Walking Dead #1 that was like on a glass display case in his store for like 6 months, like at the height of the show's popularity.
Nice. Well, during the height of the show's popularity, that was still a $1,000 book.
Yeah, that's what I like. It was a big deal.
It's quite possibly the most valuable comic book that was produced in this decade or in this era.
Yeah, probably.
Let me think about that. You're probably right. I can't think of an exception to that. I can't think of anything else.
The next closest one that I can think about would be the first issue of Deadpool, or the first appearance of Deadpool.
Yeah.
And followed by Batman New 52 #1 or 52 #1 or whatever. The Court of Owls.
Not the bat penis.
No.
Wait, what? I might have that.
Well, that's $100.
What is that? What are you talking about?
That's
Batman what?
Batman #1 from like the New 52, the first issue of the Court of Owls books.
Oh, I definitely have that.
Yeah, that's like $200 book. You need to get that
No
sucker
shit.
graded. Yeah, you need to get that graded.
Nice.
Yeah, graded it can go up to $400 or $500.
I'm gonna dig it out of my box right now.
I need to have
Pretty
my
sure
Alex.
I have that bagged and boarded.
I need to have that. I hope you do. I sold.
Yeah, no, I got like 90% of my books are bagged and boarded.
I had the only ones of mine that aren't are obviously reader copies of bullshit. But anyway, just to kind of circle back around, let's get back on the Umbrella Academy topic.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys do that. I have a long day tomorrow out on the islands of Lake Titicaca, and I really just wanted to say that lake's name live on air.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Right here.
Are you
Batman
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Batman #1, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Jonathan Glapion.
Court of Owls, right?
DC Comics, New 52.
Yep.
It doesn't say Court of Owls on it.
But that's the volume. That's issue #1 of that 6-issue.
Yeah,
volume.
yeah, that's the storyline that they're. Yeah,
okay.
I've got the rest of that run too. I've got that whole run.
Ayrton, thank you
Sweet.
for dropping
nice.
in, man. You'll be back next weekend.
Thank you guys. I will.
All right, we'll see you then.
Hopefully with both my kidneys.
Oh well.
Yeah, see you, Ayrton. Have fun in Peru.
That remains to be
thank
seen.
you, Denny. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right.
What's that?
He said thank you, and he'll talk to you later.
All right. See.
Oh, okay. See ya.
Later, man.
See you guys.
All right.
Yeah, sorry I got distracted by the Batman.
Oh, that's good.
I wouldn't have believed that.
Yeah, that's one of the few comic books that actually held a little bit of value as a #1 because it was I think it was only the second Batman #1 out there, like real Batman #1.
Yeah, is issue 0 worth anything?
That I don't know. I thought issue 0 was one of those mass-produced free issues.
No, it is. I got it here. It was $3.99.
Interesting. I'll look it up later on and let you know.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have. We should get back to Umbrella Academy.
I'll send you my source link. Yeah. On screen right now, you got the milkman delivering his daily delivery of milk, and then you see Space Boy as current. And he's humongous. He's sitting in front of the television, drinking milk and eating cookies, and explaining that somebody needs to get in touch with Seance because they're out of cookies.
Yeah. So basically, for people that don't remember from last issue, last episode on this, the Umbrella Academy saved the day, quote unquote, and now there's really nothing for them to do. So Space Boy is just hanging around, eating cookies, getting fat because his whole world's been crushed. Like,
right, Monocle.
He can't get with the rumor because she's got baggage and she's disfigured and he's a fat monkey. And Vanya's got brain damage and the rumor is like abusing her daily by making her look at images of the horrible things she caused and
now,
like
is it
it's
implied
like
that
a Clockwork
doing,
Orange? She's like prying her eyes open.
Is that implied to be daily, or is that just a one-time thing? Because when I read through it, I only picked it up as like a one-time thing she did because she was hurt.
Really, what I got the impression that she was doing it anytime Vanya was like awake and conscious and like lucid, like semi-aware of what was going on, because she had a room dedicated. She had this whole room of monitors set up, and didn't Pogo or not Pogo? Didn't
Mom.
Somebody say something to the effect of like,
Mom.
yeah? Didn't Mom say something to the effect of like she keeps doing this and it's not healthy or like it's not like right or something like that.
I couldn't
But
tell
everybody's
whether she
kind of
was.
ignoring it.
I couldn't tell if she was referencing to it being an ongoing thing, or referencing that she knew that she had done it the one time.
Yeah. So I mean, at least it happened one time. She locked her in a room full of monitors, showing her horrific images, and pried her eyes open like a Clockwork Orange to what is now effectively a mentally retarded woman. Vanya was number 7, who tried to blow up the world in the last volume, but then
Right.
number 5 shot her in the head.
Yeah, and didn't kill her, surprisingly.
Didn't kill her, just
and
scramble her brains up real good.
Surviving a shot to the head becomes a meme in this particular comic book as well, because Seance will get shot in the head later on and come back to life because comic books.
Yeah, if you're a member of the Umbrella Academy and you get shot in the head, it's really not a big deal.
It's kind of a 50-50 thing. So, the Seance, at current point at the opening of this volume, he owns a beauty salon. And that's what's shown here. They call him to tell him to bring in cookies, and he's like, I'm not bringing fucking cookies. You know how fucking famous I am? I'm not doing that. And then you see the rumor visiting Vanya, called the White Violin. And, like I said, I'll go ahead and switch the screen there. You see that she brings up Vanya to the room that Denny was talking about, and makes her relive the tragedy that she caused with the Orchestra of Apocalypse, or whatever their name was. What was their actual name?
Yeah, I can't remember what their the Orchestra Verdmitten or something like that. It's like German for like death music or something. I don't know, something like that.
The Orchestra Verdmitten, yeah. But
yeah, I was
she
right.
goes
It was
through.
Verdmitten.
Yeah. But
how about that?
She relives all of the tragedy that she's caused in that particular instance. And then you switch over to the Kraken, who is roughing up a bad guy. And then once he gets the information he's been asking for, he breaks the bad guy's arm in a way that is definitely not going to set properly.
Because that's just the kind of guy the Kraken is. Remember, right. The Kraken's number 2. He's like the misfit.
And that's basically what this first issue is. And then you check in on number 5, and number 5's at a dog track, and he walks outside and is immediately surrounded by the time traveling agents. And I'm out of pages at this point, so I'm just gonna have to try my best to describe what happens next. But what happens next is a beautiful symphony of destruction.
Yeah, he kills every single Temps Alternalis agent that's after him in the parking lot of the dog ring.
Yep.
And like it's like hundreds of dudes, because remember, he's a 68-year-old biologically altered assassin
trapped in a 10-year-old
in the body of a 10-year-old boy with a belt that lets him levitate and fly around. So he's pretty unstoppable, really. And he can time travel.
But the trunk pops and his AK-47 pops out of it, and he brutally slaughters every one of these agents. But right before he kills the last one, that agent is able to send out a transmission requesting that they unleash Hazel and Cha-Cha. And that seems to terrify number 5.
Who are like... Yeah, Hazel and Cha-Cha are like 2 Temps Alternalis special agents that are just known for their complete rampant brutality.
Now, Mrs. Church has stated that Hazel and Cha Cha were depicted much differently in the TV show than they were in the books. What's your take on that?
Yes, they were. Well, they barely use their masks in the show, which is
a damn
stupid.
shame.
They should have used the masks much more.
Yeah, they should have never taken them off.
Cha Cha is a woman. Cha Cha is a black woman. I believe in the book, is it Hazel that's the black guy and Cha Cha is the white guy?
I've never seen them without their mask in these books.
But you see their hands, like you see their arms and their like.
I don't see color in that fashion. You racist bigot.
Well, in the books, they're both men, and one of them's black and one of them's white. In the show, one of them is a black woman, and the other one is a white guy, and they like there's like this weird kind of semi-romantic tension between them. But Hazel falls in love with Agnes, who is the waitress from the donut shop from Apocalypse Suite.
Which one's Hazel and which one's
the
Cha-Cha?
show is well, the only way that I can really in the books is hard. I don't really know. I don't know how to tell you which one's Hazel and which one's Cha-Cha. In the show, Hazel is the man, and and Cha-Cha is the woman in the show.
Well, the African American is the one with the pink head, and it almost looks like the head's upside down.
That's Cha-Cha.
Okay. So
the one with the pink head is Cha-Cha.
Okay, well, Cha-Cha is black and Hazel is white. Then the one with the blue head.
Yeah. Okay. That tracks then.
Also, the secret to the pie: canned apples.
Yeah. They
use canned apples.
So to elaborate to the audience, what that means is Hazel and Cha-Cha, just as a demonstration of their brutality, go into a diner and they order the pie, and they really like it, and they ask what's in it, and the chef says, "Well, can't tell you that. It's a secret. It's a secret recipe. I can't tell you guys that." And so they
obviously
tie him up.
In jest, I can't tell you that. The last guy that asked me, I told him he'd have to cut off my arms and legs to get the recipe.
Yeah, he'd have to take off my arms to get that recipe. So Hazel and Cha-Cha tie the guy up and cut off his arms and legs so that he'll tell them what's in his pie. And the secret, of course, is canned apples, which I don't know what Hazel... You can't really account for taste, but I don't know what the fuck's going on with Hazel and Cha-Cha. You don't use canned... I made many a pie. I'm quite a chef, Church. And
are you?
You don't put canned apples in an apple pie. You nuts, you stupid. There's no way that pie was that good with canned apples.
You have to soak your fresh apples in Crown Royal apple for about 2 or 3 days.
That's an interesting tip that I've never heard. I might have to try that. But anyway, the point remains, you don't use canned apples. That guy deserved to have his arms and legs cut off using canned apples in a pie.
Well, I mean,
what are we looking at now? What's up on screen right now?
Well, that'd be the. Do you still not have the screen share?
No, I got it. I'm doing this off my phone, so it's kind of small. I see the Kraken.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the preview. I have a preview, which is what we're going to next, and then the program is what the people actually see. But what I've got is
so you're seeing the gentleman tied up with his arms and legs cut off, which I really like that shot. I really like that screen. I like all the heavy black, just the extreme. Yeah.
Yeah, the highlights, the waitress in the corner, like cowering. Who turns out to be the hero in the grand scheme of things. That waitress is responsible for the world being intact at the end of issue 6.
Yeah, is she Agnes, or was Agnes in Apocalypse Suite? Was there a waitress in Apocalypse Suite, or am I
I don't
misremembering
think
that?
so.
At the diner. At the diner, yeah, there was. When number
Yeah.
5 went to the diner, and yeah, that wait
Yeah.
Agnes, that waitress
Yeah.
she's the main character in the Umbrella Academy show. She's
Oh, okay.
Hazel's love interest.
Really?
Yeah, it's so weird.
Okay. I'm not up
Ask
on the
your
show.
wife; she'll tell you. Ask Mrs. Church.
Yeah, I'm not up on all that, but yeah, that's strange because I can't see these two characters loving anything except sweets and death.
Yeah, that's kind of how the show is
Um,
vastly inferior.
so I'll go ahead and switch the scene now. You'll have the Kraken speaking with the detective and his monkey partner, Body, and they're going over the murder outside the dog track, and they're finding out that it's probably number 5, and number 2 is just like, give me some time, I'll figure it out, you won't have to deal with it, blah blah blah. And then you switch over and you see number 3, or not number 3, that's afterwards. You see this young guy who you have no idea who it is getting off of a plane, and they call him Mr. Perseus. So he's like a side interest to this character. He's a criminal that I believe the Kraken has said that he's onto, but doesn't have the resources to take out. And he has he has
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He has these animatronic assistants that he apparently routinely bashes in the face, and has to replace. And then we switch to a scene of what I can only assume is a chimpanzee prostitute dressed up like Marilyn Monroe singing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" to number 5, who's drinking Jack Daniels out of a tumbler.
Yeah, it's like how he's coping with his with all these had to deal with the assassination of Kennedy, living in a world where apes exist,
right.
like as intelligent as humans.
Right. Because that is only a thing because of him. I mean, I really don't understand the whole ape thing.
So that's explained in Apocalypse Suite. One of the reasons that Monocle is so famous was his groundbreaking research on chimpanzee and primate intelligence and biology. And he was able to figure out if you stimulate a monkey's brain the right way, that it works like a human. But to figure this out, he had to experiment horribly on Pogo. But because of this, the world is occupied by monkeys that are also as smart as humans, because the procedure is now simple thanks to the Monocle science. But it was a sinister story in how it was developed.
Well, the rumor who can't talk because she was disfigured in the first volume of this book tracks down number 5, and then they switch over to the seance who's trying to talk unsuccessfully, I think, to Pogo, of all people. And he is knocked out by Hazel and Cha-Cha, who then share a gift of Girl Scout cookies between one another.
Yeah.
Before they kidnap,
because they're buddies.
Yeah, before they kidnap Seance and hold him hostage. Apparently, we find out in chapter 3, which I'll bring up in a minute, but we find out that the Seance was tortured, and
by Hazel and Cha-Cha.
Right. Now they wake him up, and well, actually, once they kidnap him, they tie him up, and he's seemingly unconscious. But he jumps through a television and tries to get in touch with number one, as the seance does.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's
And you
the
know what
first.
this scene is very reminiscent of?
What's that?
It's very reminiscent of when the Flash travels back in time to try and alert Batman on the Crisis on Infinite Earths, but
Yeah.
Batman's like, what the fuck was that? Who is that guy?
Right.
Like, the seance is reaching out to Space Boy from a television who's like half asleep and in like a sugar coma, and he's like, what the fuck was that? What just came out of my TV?
Well, once the seance get through to Space Boy, and Space Boy kind of realizes that the seance is in danger, we find out that Hazel and Cha Cha had the nuclear weapons from Kennedy, and then they pretty much assassinate Seance. They shoot him in the head with his shoes on.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
we get a little bit of a backstory on how Number 5 became Number 5. And this is where they go through the explanation that as an old man, he was genetically enhanced and, physically enhanced, all that good stuff. But a lot
made him the world's best assassin.
Right. And you find out later on, I think in issue 3 or 4, that when they're doing these experiments, they're basically interchanging his genomes with the DNA of every serial killer and successful mass killer that ever existed, making him the perfect
not
killing
only that,
machine.
but also not just every serial killer and mass murderer, but every successful assassin, every notable soldier, anybody that's ever been good at killing in any context, they've pumped his genome full of their DNA.
Except Hazel and Cha Cha, apparently.
Except Hazel and Cha Cha, apparently.
But they go through all of that. It's kind of graphic, so we're not going to go through all of that, but you can kind of get the idea.
Yeah, I kind of explained it earlier. The Temps Alternalis are like these miracle surgeons that can do anything. They've had an infinite amount of time to study an infinite amount of surgical techniques, so they can do whatever to whoever. And yeah, I explained it earlier. They found out that he can time travel and he's got potential. So they took him and they made him an agent and they altered him a whole bunch. And then he said, screw this, I don't like this anyway. Tried to travel back in time by himself and messed up and ended up in his 10-year-old body, but somehow with all of his DNA augmentations in place. Right? That's more or less it.
More or less, I'd say. Why will it not do what I want? You bastard. Okay, I'll have to do this a little differently. We'll do this. And we'll do this. Okay. Anyway, we kind of skip forward after this, and we see that Number 1 at least got a fucking clue and jumped out and went on the rescue mission, because he lands in front of the apartment building that Seance is being held in, even though he's already dead at this point. But unfortunately, Hazel and Cha Cha get the drop on him and hit him with his taser. And they set the timer on the nuclear weapon. And this is where it gets kind of interesting. This is where we meet God.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts in the series, I think, so far that I've read.
So this is where we meet God, and this is where you kind of see that the only difference between God and Seance is a little bit of shading and a Hawaiian shirt.
Well, and a cool cowboy hat.
I don't know. If the cowboy hat had some shading, it would be cooler.
I like it. I like the lo-fi simplicity.
I do too, honestly. No cross hatching, no shading, no detail.
It gives it like this
line art.
austere sort of, yeah. It sets it aside from the rest of it. Like this is somehow important or meaningful.
Right.
Like, and it's supposed to be because he's God.
Right. Like, but God's matter of fact. He explains straight up, like, look, you don't belong here. I don't want you here.
God.
I don't
God
like
don't
you.
Pussyfoot around the truth. Yeah. God's like, you're a loser. I don't really like you here, but the devil don't like you either. We're not really sure what to do with you.
And you basically find out that, just like that. And one thing, and I'll quote this word bubble directly. God says, this exchange. God says, it's always a longer walk to the men's room, buckaroo. And Seance is like, what the hell does that mean? And God tells him, stop being such a fairy and kill those two sons of bitches. And stay off the drugs, Klaus. Because that's the Seance's real name. But
yeah.
Just stop being such a fairy and kill those two sons of bitches. And stay off the drugs, Klaus.
Seance is constantly plagued by the spirits of the dead. So to nullify this, he takes a lot of drugs, and it's really messing with him. And God's telling him, knock it off.
After that's all explained, we're left with number 5 and number 3 having a conversation via notepad, basically. And number 3 is like, look, you just told me this entire origin story of you going forward in time to the apocalypse and then figuring out how to get back to prevent it, but missing your shot, but still showing up in your 10-year-old body. I think you're full of shit. He's like, okay, I lied about the goldfish because the goldfish is the leader of the time travelers. And
yeah, he's the leader of the Temps Alternalis.
And the goldfish is like, yes, you absolutely lied about me. I'm a Shubenkin, not an Ordena.
Yeah. He lied about the breed of the goldfish.
And that's pretty much how we finish out the third chapter. Finding out that there is a hyper-intelligent goldfish that leads a group of time travelers.
Well, what this exchange tells us is that number 5 is absolutely telling the truth, and now Rumor believes him. But Rumor's the only one of the Umbrella Academy that really knows what's going on. Everybody else isn't sure about his stories about the Temps Alternalis and being genetically altered and whatever. They haven't really seen him in action doing what he does. As far as they know, he's just a crazy little kid.
And one thing
Rumor.
One thing that we haven't really touched on is that while he was telling the story, the leader shows up in his goldfish glory and basically tells number 5 that you're going to go back and you're going to make sure Kennedy gets assassinated or else. And Rumor is just like, fuck this. I don't really give a shit. Why should I care about what you want? And the goldfish is like, because I have a gun trained on number 5's mother before he's even born. And if you don't help me, I'm going to kill her. And she's like, well,
that's kind of what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead and get into that. Why would she care that number 5 died?
Well, see, unbeknownst to the audience up until this point, number 5, because all of these Umbrella children were born on the same day to mothers that had never been pregnant the day before. But unbeknownst to everybody, number 5 and number 1 were actually twins. So if the goldfish has number 5's mother assassinated, it will also have number 1's mother assassinated. And Rumor doesn't want that to happen because she loves number one.
Well, we actually don't
even
find
though he
out.
is a big fat monkey.
We don't find out until the end of the story. We don't find out for another 3 issues that it's number one that's the twin, though. It very well could be at this point rumor, and that's what I thought when I saw this exchange.
That's true. But
We
I mean,
didn't know
I
which
tend
one
to
of the-
believe it's.
Yeah, we didn't know for sure which one was the twin at this junction in the story.
I thought it was when I read it. There was no doubt in my mind. I thought it was glaringly obvious that. Well, yeah, because really, I don't know if we've conveyed it enough up to this point, but the Umbrella Academy are not a really good family. They don't care about each other.
No, they're not tight knit.
Rumor doesn't. Yeah, Rumor doesn't care about Seance, doesn't care about number 5, doesn't care about Vanya. The only people that kind of care about each other, the Kraken was sort of in love with Vanya, but now she's retarded and the Kraken's all grumpy. And Space Boy kind of loved the Rumor, but he's a big fat monkey now and he doesn't think he's worthy. And she went and got married and had a daughter, but now is like going through a divorce.
Right.
But unbeknownst to Space Boy, she actually loves him. So when it was introduced that, oh, well, killing number 5 will also kill another person that you care about, it's like, as far as we know, the only person Vanya cares about is herself and her daughter and number 1. So
now this is the part that I really wanted to get to. This is my favorite.
Oh, real
cover.
quick before you get into that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick. Something that I wanted to say, just if the audience doesn't know yet, the Temps Alternalis are like Hydra or like Shield or like the Guild of Calamitous Intent or something. They're all reaching. They're like Cobra or what is the agency from James Bond? Spectre. They're like Spectre. There's like nothing they can't do. They've got agents everywhere, infinite resources, infinite technology. It's almost impossible to stand against the Temps Alternalis, and that's basically what number 5 is trying to do. That's how much of a badass he is. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, getting into this, we jump in, and immediately the first thing I want to talk about is the cover of the 4th issue of Volume 2.
Yeah, I love that cover.
It's a Seance with her throat cut on the notepad and her Michael Jackson glove on. Rumor, right? Sorry. With her Michael Jackson glove on, and it just says, "This is the cover of the 4th issue." How fucking amazing is that?
Yeah, because it's such a cool cover. It's so like 90s Kurt Cobain, grungy, anti-establishment.
Right. It's
ironic.
It's very independent comic.
This is the cover to the 1st issue.
Yeah. Like this is very
it's just so edgy. But it's cool.
I think it's
that on it.
I think it's topical. I could probably make that happen with just like a black and white imprint. Do like an Al Pacino Scarface type cover of it. Just bleed all the color out of it to white and black.
I was gonna say if you can make her notepad say this is the design for my T-shirt and put it on a T-shirt, I would buy one of those.
We'll talk after the show. But the first page is you see number 1. I mean, I know you only see him from the backside in this shot, but you see number 1 walking up to a white picket fence house. I think we can explain this sequence without getting too far into it, but number 1 is unconscious right now because he was tased by Hazel and Cha-Cha. And the Seance is dead at this point. So he's having this whole life where he wakes up and walks home with a briefcase and a sports coat in a three-piece suit
Yeah, this
to
is this
to a
is
white
like
picket fence house
this
to
is
the rumor as a wife. Go ahead.
yeah, this is like his ideal life. This is like what he wishes life was like in his fantasy, his imagination. He's a well built, normal, well off man with a nice house and a white picket fence and the wife who is the woman that he loves and children that love him and like
But
a
the
completely
children are
normal existence.
chimpanzees. That's fantastic.
Well, they're half Martian gorilla.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the rumor is his wife. They're both still wearing their mask. But then he walks into the kitchen, and on the dinner table is Seance with a hole in his head. But one thing to notice in the art that I'm not showing on stream, but if you read this book, you'll notice that in the art his shoes are off. And then everything blows up except Space Boy, and he sees the monocle behind him while he's holding the burned skeleton of one of his young children. And the monocle tells him, "You don't really think everything was going to turn out all right, did you?" And then
Yeah.
he
It's
wakes up.
very like I was gonna say, it's very symbolic of Space Boy's psyche. He was the favorite. He was the team leader. Everything was supposed to go all right for him, but because of his father's carelessness, he ended up on the body of a Martian ape and was denied everything that he wanted. He was denied a normal life with his uh, unrelated sister Allison and their kids and living this happy life. So he imagined himself living this happy Stepford wife situation, and then it's like his conscious mind reminds him, "Oh yeah, but the seance is in trouble, and your dad was an asshole, and the world is gonna end, and everything's fucked up, and you didn't think things were really going to be this nice for you, did you? What are you, some kind of idiot? You some kind of idiot, number one?" It's like his negative subconscious feeding into his. It's very good symbolism. It's a very good dream sequence.
Yeah. Oh, Becky. Becky said something
But
in the chat here. What's going on, Becky? Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say I gotta step away for a couple minutes. So is that all right with you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through the Hazel and Cha Cha self-sacrifice thing while you're gone. Hopefully, you'll be back by the time I move on.
Okay, yeah, I shouldn't be too long.
Okay. Um, just to catch everybody up, what he was talking about was the dream sequence right before here, and then you see number one Space Boy waking up, and you see the waitress in the corner saying that he said he didn't want to be in these shoes when he was dead, so I took them off. And Space Boy is like, "Thank you." And Hazel and Cha Cha talk about how loaded up on sugar they are, and they set the timers on the nuclear device, and then Cha Cha, Hazel, Hazel's the man. Hazel blows Cha Cha's brains out and then turns the gun on himself. Um, and then you realize that Seance isn't dead. His spirit has re-inhabited his body after taking control of Cha Cha, Hazel. I can't remember which one's which. The blue mask. And so essentially at this point, he's died twice because he was shot in the head and then he shot himself in the head while he was embodying someone else. So they start having a conversation, Seance and Space Boy. And they essentially, come to the understanding that they're at the end of the world, except for the fact that the Seance is like, no, I totally disarmed that bomb that they set off. And then we're about to switch to a board meeting at the Perseus building. And one thing I want to point out is the symbol on the table of the Perseus building that kind of makes me think that between the horror, which with number 6, and the symbol of the Perseus Corporation, that there's not a little bit of a Lovecraftian influence on this story just from the get go.
Oh yeah, I would say for sure. I would have no doubt in my mind Gerard Way is a fan of Lovecraft.
So, oh, my chapels are acting up. My apologies. That's kind of a common theme in this show.
Oh, that's okay. But
in any
hey,
event,
Church.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
So we got what? We got about half of Dallas left to go, right?
Oh no, we're almost at the end, believe it or not.
Oh, we are? Okay, I was going to say, I got about 10 to 15 more minutes.
Well,
I got about 10 to 15 more minutes.
Oh yeah, we can get through that time frame because we kind of already covered the ending. Now, what I'm getting at though with this particular scene, these two characters, the blonde, does he become more important in Apocalypse Suite? The Perseus guy?
Hotel Oblivion.
Yeah.
He's like, I believe his company manages Hotel Oblivion, which is like where it's like this extra dimensional prison, as near as I can tell, where like the worst of the worst are sent, like the absolute worst people. It's like the shadow zone from Superman 2, the negative zone from Superman 2. It's like it's used to store just the absolute irredeemable characters out of time, I believe, is what I understand. And he's like the new hotshot stepson or son of the old owner that has died, and now it's kind of like a hostile takeover. Yeah, it's like a hostile takeover of Hotel Oblivion is the way that I understand it, right?
I haven't read it. I'll have to look into it because at this point we're gonna have to do a show on it. But I think we can get through the general premise of this in the next 10 minutes. We'll do a little bit of a lightning round. Basically.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm sorry.
You're good.
I got off topic, and
You're good. We did a short show. We we started a little bit late. But we can kind of speed through it. Basically, number 5 and the rumor are at the end of time, and they're explaining on how a bunch of people are going to have to die in order to stop his past self. Then you find that Seance and number 1 have dug up the corpse of Pogo, but instead of finding the corpse of Pogo, they found the corpse of a time bandit for whatever reason, because comics. And they use that.
Yeah, because comic.
They use that corpse's time disruptor to move back in time to the Vietnam era instead of moving forward to the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
So they move through Vietnam, and like you said, they essentially affect the Vietnam War. I don't think they stop it from happening, but I think that they end it early.
No, they shorten it. Yeah.
Yeah. But before that happens, we find out that the nuke that went off was it went off and destroyed the planet. So
the nukes that Hazel and Cha-Cha set.
Correct. And then, we start off in Vietnam, we find out that, number 1, number 2, and number 4 are all in Vietnam. Number 4 has had a child with a native, potentially an old woman, who knows. That's not clearly explained, but everyone thought he was gay, but he was not. He had a baby.
Well, in the show, he is very firmly gay. They make damn clear that you know that he is very gay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But,
well, not really interesting. That's just how shows are made now.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into that. I eventually want to get monetization.
But,
so.
But anyway, they go through Vietnam.
Right. Sorry, I was finishing off a Dewar's double-aged 12-year.
Oh, very nice. I've just been sipping on some Jameson tonight.
I told you I had that Caskmates a couple of weeks ago, right? That stuff was delicious.
Yes, you did. It sounds interesting. I'm always. I know Jameson works for me, so I usually get Jameson, or if I want Scotch, I go with some Glenlivet. I really wish that my liquor store carried that Glenlivet Maduro that you're talking about. You and Rackets always talk about.
You should ask them if they can order it for you. Now
I might do that. I might do that next time I'm in.
Do you remember what was interesting about the Vietnam encounter? It wasn't the Vietnam encounter or the fact that number 4 was carrying a baby.
Was it that they summoned the giant mummy of Tutankhamun to wipe out the Vietnamese vampires?
That is correct. Yes. That is.
Yeah. 100%. So in this world's version of Vietnam, the North Vietnamese vampires were trying to invade the South Vietnamese patriots. So the Umbrella Academy time traveled back and released the giant cursed mummy of Tutankhamun to shoot his laser eyes at the Vietnamese vampires, but it didn't quite work out the way they wanted.
And they were 3 years early for Vietnam. So.
Was that it too?
Yeah, they were 3 years early for the Kennedy assassination and landed in Vietnam. However, eventually they found young Pogo. Of all people, they found young Pogo.
Pogo, he's back.
And
Pogo, the most endearing character from the first volume.
Right. And, instead of, telling him how it ends, Pogo has the wherewithal to know that he doesn't want to know, essentially. And that takes us into the end.
Yeah, because Pogo's wise.
We cleared Vietnam. Seance has a baby in Vietnam. And that puts us in Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is the end.
Yes, this is where they go back in time. Well, number 5 and Rumor have assembled a team with the Temps Alternalis to go back and assassinate John F. Kennedy in Dallas.
Before you get into all that, can we appreciate the cover art?
Yes, that's really cool cover art.
That's literally all you got. I mean, that's almost Banksy-ish.
Yes, I really like the roughness to the negative space in the background. That stark white kind of scratchy explosion that's taking place behind number 5, who's doing the salute. It's very kind of ironic sort of patriotism because they're assassinating the president.
Well, one thing that I think is interesting is that the story starts out at number 5's school project, and you find out that he did a diorama of the solar system and left out planet Earth, which in this timeline at current point, because of his abilities, makes you think that he understands how the timeline has worked at this point. And left
really
out.
That's
I
was going to say that's what you.
I feel like that he's so in touch with the timeline that he knows in the future that the Earth is destroyed because of the nuclear devices.
Oh, see, in the fashion of Umbrella Academy, I sort of figured it was like just sort of a weird coincidence. It's sort of reminiscent, like the fact that the fate of Earth hangs in the balance of what he does or does not do, how much attention he is paying to his task at hand.
Well,
is reminiscent of the time that he had to make a science project, and because he didn't really care, he just left Earth out of it. Like he just was like, whatever. Who cares if I put planet Earth in the diorama? And it's kind of like echoing the current predicament of, are you going to save Earth, or what's going on, number 5?
That could be it, but I think honestly that it speaks to, because here's the thing, and it's said out loud with number 7 and number 4. Their power sets are much bigger than they're given credit for. Everybody has a main power and like a secondary power that's clearly explained. You know, Seance can talk to the dead and he can kind of levitate.
Yeah.
You know, but the white violin didn't seem to have a power until you realize that she can use a violin or a musical instrument to destroy the entire world.
Yeah.
The rumor didn't realize that, you know, her rumor abilities could transfer to inanimate objects, so to speak. You don't have to have a mind for the rumor's powers to work on you. Number 5 wasn't a master marksman and the best killing machine on the planet. He could just jump forward in time, little bits of time, until he decided
well,
to jump
also
too far.
Let's not forget, he can also replace objects in space.
Right.
In space-time.
And, you know, because of that, he's seen as being faster than he normally is. Number 1 is super strong, and he can, you know, fly, and he's a natural leader or whatever. The Blades thing, and all of them just have, you know, all of them seem to have like hidden potential. It almost seems like.
Mm-hmm.
I think that part of number 5's hidden potential is that the space-time continuum, while it's like a woven fabric to everyone else, I think that to number 5, it is a straight line. It is a clear picture. And
well, to that, I would say that this science experiment clearly happened before he jumped and abandoned the team. It clearly happened before he jumped. It happened before their Paris mission.
But it also happened before they did anything to prevent the timeline that stopped the Earth from being destroyed. So during this course of time...
if he had a clear view of the timeline, he wouldn't have jumped so far into the future. Because when he jumped so far into the future, he was surprised that the apocalypse had taken place.
But so he prevented the apocalypse from taking place then as well. So
but at this point, the timeline that it happened.
No. At this point, this particular number 5, that apocalypse never took place because he helped prevent it by shooting his sister in the head.
I don't know, man. I think it's agree to disagree on this one. I think that the whole science experiment thing was just supposed to be like a weird flashback, like a weird coincidence, like this is mirroring the time that he didn't give a shit on his science experiment. Like, I don't think, like, he didn't have a grasp of, because that's what the monocle was trying to warn him against. Like, no, number 5, you're not experienced enough to jump forward. You don't know what you're doing. Stop trying to be Mr. Cool Guy. I'm the monocle. I know what's going on. And number 5 is like, fuck you, old man. And he jumps so far into the future that he's like, oh shit, what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? And then he spent the next 60 years trying to figure out, like, how time actually worked. Like, that's the way that I view it.
I mean, I don't disagree, but Well, let's cover this next episode. Let's go ahead and get through.
Yeah. I'm
I've
sorry.
already
I'm not,
switched
I'm not
seats.
trying to argue with you.
No,
Yeah.
no. If it was just an argument, I'd gladly welcome it. But you said you had a little bit of time, and I've already eaten into that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should probably wrap this up real short here.
We eventually find out that number 1 consults the past number 5, the old man version, and explains to him that he's lost or whatever. But the old man's like, look, I'm not going to let him kill Kennedy. And number 1 agrees with him. He's like, that's the way it should be. That's the way it is in our time. Blah blah blah. And then you find out that the rumor has replaced Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, Jackie
she says that I heard a rumor that the back of your head's about to explode.
Yeah. And that's what actually caused the Kennedy assassination. Not no magic bullet, not no bodyguard, not no Lee Harvey Oswald.
It was a rumor.
It was the rumor. Yeah.
But afterwards, she has to explain to number 1 that she did it to save his life. Not number 5, nothing else. She did it to save number 1.
So that the goldfish didn't assassinate number 5's mother, which was also number 1's mother.
Yep. And
which I love that shot of the rumor as Jackie O, by the way, that one you're going to bring up.
Right. And then she stepped it. Well, I've already brought it up and then switched it. Now she's a nurse and snuck out of the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Do I need to bring it back up again?
If you want to, I don't care. They've seen it. They know.
If I want to? If I want
if you want to.
There it is. There it is.
I like that shot. I like the big red bang at the bottom too. I really like the
it's really 90s
sort of
comic of it.
Yeah. It's almost sort of like an ironic, again, there's that word, ironic take on like 70s like pop comics too, like that big text, that fluorescent red like bang sound effect, but it's just so plainly stated on the page.
Well, I'm gonna present my major argument, and I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but my youngest chapel is seriously protesting not having Moana on right now, and I apologize. You can shut up. We are not torturing my baby. I promise. She's just very against being in the dark. She has a nightlight, but she wants to chew on it. So
I was gonna say it. You saying that not watching Moana isn't torture? Every second that I don't get to watch Moana, I consider that I'm being tortured.
Well, I mean,
I've been being tortured for like an hour and 42 minutes on this stream because I'm not able to watch Moana.
That's your white privilege. But Spaceboy jumps out into basically oblivion at this point because he doesn't want to hear that he's been saved by assassinating Kennedy, which changed his entire world and life view, because in this universe Kennedy has been alive this whole time. And he sees everything as difference, while most people can see no difference. And Spaceboy doesn't realize that he came back to a world that exists, whereas the world he left was destroyed by the nuclear weapons acquired by the Monocle. If he knew that truth, which I hope he finds out in Hotel Oblivion, and I'm going to be reading that over the next week, regardless of when we do the show. But if he learns,
I really want to.
If he learns that the Monocle's nuclear weapons actually destroyed the planet because of Hazel and Cha-Cha, and that the world was saved by assassinating Kennedy, I can imagine that his entire worldview would be shattered, and his disdain for the Monocle would be amazing. But go ahead.
Well, because he was real, like, he was super, don't assassinate Kennedy. It's the wrong thing to do. We can't kill Kennedy. He's the president.
Right.
But like knowing how radically that would alter the future, would that change his perspective on killing Kennedy?
Well,
Which is kind of the whole question of the book. Is it okay to assassinate the U.S. president if it means that there's not going to be a nuclear holocaust eventually?
and I think
it's
yes.
a moral quandary for our heroes.
I think the answer is yes. If the president means that the world is going to be okay, then yeah, fuck the president. Like, I love Trump, but now here,
well, I just mean it's a moral quandary for our hero, because like the last thing you would think about Superman doing is assassinating the president, but that's something that the Umbrella Academy actually has to deal with.
Well, the goldfish shows up and brings some ice cream at least, right?
Yeah. So as a reward, much like the Monocle used to do, for completion of their mission and assassinating John F. Kennedy, the goldfish shows up with an ice cream cart to give them all ice cream.
Well, let's just see how that works out for him. That had to work out for him great, right? I mean, that had to be an amazing play on his part, yeah?
Well,
I don't think so, Denny.
Yeah, he seems to be forgetting that number 5 still hates him.
So what does number 5 do besides crash through the goldfish bowl in his glass and eat him alive?
Picks him up and eats him like remember those old YouTube videos of people that used to eat goldfish and then spit them back out, like vomit them back out? That's like what number 5 does, except he doesn't vomit him back out.
Yeah. So.
And then he gets ice cream.
Right. For himself. And
for himself.
The rumor climbs into bed with Vanya and finally accepts her as being damaged. And here's my smoking gun on the theory that the globe was left out on purpose. After the world is saved, what is number 5 holding in his hand?
No, he's got the globe. I'm not. So I agree with you. The globe was left out on purpose, but I think it was number 5, like not giving. I think it was he intentionally left it out as like a stick up the Monocle's butt. Like I don't
think so. I think it was symbolic to the fact that he knew that the world didn't exist. I think that if the story continues past Oblivion Hotel, I think that we're going to see that this kid sees the timeline as it is, regardless of what he currently knows, if that makes sense. Like, when he made the diorama, he saw the universe without the world in it, because the world was dead at that point.
And I disagree. I think that it's just supposed to be a non sequitur, like, this is like that time that I made the diorama and I left out the Earth, like just as a middle finger to the Monocle, because I knew that he was gonna get all pissy about. Like, it's just in number 5's character to be a dickhead. But now, years and years in the future, being a dickhead, the entire fate of the world hinges on how much of a dickhead he wants to. Like, I think it's just supposed to be I think you're right in the fact that it's symbolic, that globe and him leaving it out and that whole scene is like, it's symbolic, but I don't think it's like indicative that he knows the whole timeline. Because I maintain, had he known the whole timeline, he wouldn't have jumped forward in the future. Because he was surprised when he jumped forward and saw the end. He was not expecting that.
But he spent 70 years mastering and harnessing his power.
Yeah, but he built the diorama before.
Oh wait, yeah, right. Okay. So it's 50-50. I mean, I still think there's a chance that his power is going to manifest to be something greater than he initially thought it was. Because, I mean, let's think about it. He's already figured out how to travel forward and backwards in time. It just took a while of doing, calculations.
Well, he's still not good at traveling backwards in time. There's still mistakes to be made. Yeah.
No.
But anyway, I think I think that, I mean, at the very least, I'd stake my whole reputation on it that he didn't know when he was building that diagram. He didn't know the fate of the world. It was just like a middle finger, and then it's like years and years later, you see what that kind of attitude has led, like what hangs in the balance because number 5 is such a punk. Right. Like that's what I think it is.
Well, I definitely appreciate you sticking on with me. Don't let me hold you up. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up at this point. But
thanks for having me on. I hope I wasn't. As always, I hope I wasn't too distracting. Hope I didn't get too off topic.
I mean, I wouldn't have you on if you
sucks. Fire Arton.
Okay, I will. He'll still be on the show though, but I'll fire him every show.
And yeah, I'm excited to come on and talk about Hotel Oblivion sometime.
As am I. I'm actually going to be reading that tomorrow because at this point I'm more interested in how it turns out than I was before. But I don't know. I think this series has a lot more nuance than we're giving it credit for. But I don't know if Gerard Way is going to keep writing it, and if he doesn't, I think I'm done with independent comics that are taken over by other writers.
Yeah, I wouldn't read this if Gerard Way didn't continue the series. As for the nuance, yeah, I think it's incredibly nuanced. I think it's incredibly intelligent. It's got its own sort of feel. It's almost like the Venture Brothers. It's like this take off of superhero sci-fi pop, but it's like a whole version of it that you never thought of. It's very much dysfunctional and uncomfortable and bogged down in like the mundanity of real life inconveniences. Yeah, I really like the series, but I wouldn't read it if it wasn't. I think Gerard Way makes the series, makes the characters, makes that whole vision, that whole aesthetic.
Like I said, I think that there's a really good thing going on with these characters, but I think that there is a big problem with the idea that these characters have anything special, so to speak, that hasn't been already hasn't been already explored in other sequences.
But I think that's what kind of works though, because this is like a world that doesn't have any other superheroes. This is a world where Superman and the Marvel universe and the DC universe and all of that doesn't exist. All they have is the Umbrella Academy. So like Superboy or Space Boy is the only one that's ever had.
Well, they don't even seem to be celebrated like other, but that's a conversation for later on. Let me let you get off. We're already over budget.
Yeah, we're running late. Thanks for having me on.
Always. I'm gonna start a little bit of outro music here. Go ahead and keep talking. I'll lower the volume a little bit, and we'll start that playing.
Okay.
But go ahead and plug your Twitter and your Instagram for the people. Let them know that you did the background.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at AtomicDenny_artwork, and then on Twitter at AtomicDenny, capital A, capital D. So go and give me a follow if you like my rambling about comic books and you want to see some artwork. And thanks for tuning into Gospel of Comics, you guys.
Thanks again for stopping on, and thanks you guys for tuning in, and you guys watching the video on demand later. I'm gonna end the Skype call now. You'll just hear me. Thanks again, Denny. I'll talk to you in just a minute. Don't leave just yet. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and increase the volume here just a little bit.
Selling anything.
I'm gonna
I don't think I'm selling anything.
let you guys. Thanks again.
So people are willing to pay a lot of money to see you speak. You know, what is it that you think that people are hungry for? They want to hear from you.
They're hungry for a discussion of the relationship between responsibility and meaning. Responsibility and meaning. Responsibility and meaning. The relationship between responsibility and meaning. We haven't had that discussion in our culture for 50 years. 50 years. We've concentrated on rights and privileges and freedom and impulsive pleasure. Those are all useful in their place, but they're shallow, and that's not good. Because they're shallow. If people are moored shallowly, then storms wreck them, and storms come along. So I'm talking to people about how they can build a foundation underneath them that works. Storms come along. So read moves.